Hello everyone, and this is going to be my review for Lower Corte by Guy Gavriel Kay. I know most of my individual book reviews don't get dramatic intros with readings, but most books I read aren't Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay or Lower Corte by Guy Gavriel Kay if you want to piss off all the Tiganans. Anyway, so you're getting a dramatic reading for this because this book just has a lot of really good passages, so I wanted to do one. Tigana, let my memory of you be like a blade in my soul. Memory was talisman and ward for him, gateway and hearth. It was pride and love, shelter from loss. For if something could be remembered, it was not wholly lost, not dead and gone forever. It is simple truth that mortal man cannot understand why the gods shape events as they do. Why some men and women are cut off in the fullest flower, while others live to dwindle into shadows of themselves. Why virtue must sometimes be trampled and evil flourish amidst the beauty of a country garden. Why chance, sheer, random chance, plays such an overwhelming role in the running of the lifelines and the fate lines of men. And somewhere in his mind and heart, fruits of a long winter of thought and of listening in silence as older and wiser men spoke, Devon knew that he was not the first and would not be the last person defined in a single man, the defining shape and lineaments for the so much harder love of an abstraction or a dream. One man sees a Rizalka, his life forks there. Two men see a Rizalka, one of them shall die. Three men see a Rizalka, one is blessed, one forks, one shall die. One woman sees a Rizalka, her path comes clear to her. Two women see a Rizalka, one of them shall bear a child. Three women see a Rizalka, one is blessed, one is clear, one of them shall bear a child. Even numbed as he was now, he could feel a lancing hurt in his mind as he dwelt upon history. So much done in the name of the dead. So basically, this was brilliant. Also, if you watch Daniel Green's review of Tigana, he calls out authors who hold the book like this, and as a statement of pride for my fellow hold the book up to the cameras, I'm going to hold it for literally the entire video. So take that, Daniel, if you see this video. Tigana will be held up the entire time. I mean, Lower Corte. None of you will forget this title. You will all remember what this book looks like. Anyway, this is my first Guy Gavriel Kay book, and I went in expecting very gorgeous prose, and I got what I was expecting. This man has a way with words. Combination of how he writes emotional scenes being just incredibly impactful, and also how good he is at setting a scene. He's really good at his setting scenes being dynamic. So if we go to like literally the first line, it's both moons were high, dimming the light of all but the brightest stars. And he does this a lot where even though like the moons are obviously a static object, they're doing something dynamic. They're dimming the stars, and he does this very consistently with all his descriptions. It's also something Hobb does really well, and it really helps paint the picture in my mind. So I found really the world in this book to be very easy to picture, and also the world in general. I don't know how much the prose contributed to it, but the world was very rich, in my opinion. Anyway, so prose for this, like, if you are a fan of high prose, grand prose, you're probably going to enjoy this, because that certainly is what this is. But what the hell is it about? So, Lower Corte, if you want to understand that, why I'm calling it Lower Corte, read the book. Anyway, I'm going to continue to call it that. It is about a peninsula called the Peninsula of the Palm, and it is based, it's Italy. It's like a fantasy version of Renaissance Italy. Get it? Because Italy's a boot, so this is a palm. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that I was on like page 400 when I figured that out. It's pretty obvious. As soon as I realized it, I was like, oh, palm boot. Anyway, I'm a little bit embarrassed about that, and I really want to put this book down, but damn it, I will, I'm doing it to spite Daniel Green. Sometimes we have to do these things. Anyway, and basically this peninsula of the Palm is dominated largely by two tyrants, Alberico and Brandon. And they kind of gained dominance 20 years ago, and they kind of are relatively equal in strength. Like, originally there were 9 sub-provinces on the peninsula, and they each control 4, and then there's one fifth one that's just basically going, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, because, and the others don't invade them, because then it would expose to the other tyrant who's relatively equal in strength. But one of the tyrants, was angry enough that he didn't just conquer one of the provinces. He, using magic, they're both very powerful sorcerers, using magic, he destroyed the memory and the name of the province, and basically now everyone calls it Lower Corte, because that province's arch enemy through history was Corte. So that's why me calling the book Lower Corte is going to piss off the Tiganans, if they were real, but they're not, so they can't come for me. Ha! Anyway, and I thought this was a really interesting premise, and one thing I was immediately worried about was, like, do we really care that much about the memory compared to, like, the murder? And I think there were some characters in this who definitely care a lot more about the memory than what I saw, but what I thought was going to just be an entire book about, like, how important the memory and culture is, and it is about how important memory and culture is, but it's a lot more nuanced than I was expecting it to be. Like, I was expecting the book to just hold, like, the themes to be that those things would be, like, of ultimate, utmost importance, and it's a lot more balanced and nuanced than that, and I really appreciated the themes of this book. One part of this book that I need to warn everyone for, which apparently is a theme, it says in the afterword that it's a theme and that it's deliberate, is, oh my god, this book is horny. Guy Gavriel Kay, you need to bonk, and you need to go to horny jail. So I'm just going to read what he says from the afterword, because I don't want to misconstrue. So this is what Guy Gavriel Kay says, basically about why the novel is very horny. The novelist, Milan Kundera, fed my emerging theme of oppression and survival with his musings about the relationship between conquered peoples and an unstable sexuality, what I have called the insurrections of night. The underlying ideas, for me, had to do with how people rebel when they can't rebel, how we behave when the world has lost its bearings, and how shattered self-respect can ripple through the most intimate levels of our lives. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm unsure about that, but I wasn't that bothered by it being horny, but I mean, I've read 17 Dresden books, so, I mean, a book has to be pretty horny for it to not bother me at this point. For it to bother me, I mean. Anyway, but if you are bothered by characters being horny, and I will say, it's balanced horniness. It's not just the men who are horny. Everyone do be horny in this book. All of them. 100, well, not 100% of characters, but that's because there's one not horny character. One. Anyway, you've been warned. But still, the characters, despite all having the trait of horny, to varying degrees, all were very well realized, and I knew that the characters were well realized because I feel like I know a lot of the characters felt like the protagonist to me, and I knew them as well as, like, I'd know a protagonist, and yet most of them were not protagonists. They were supporting characters. So even, like, Alison, I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry, Italians. Anyway, he's arguably the most important character of this book. He also has no POVs. So the real, like, the protagonists are Devin and Dinora. I'm gonna say a lot of names wrong. I'm not Italian. Don't hurt me. Anyway, of the two, Dinora, I thought her character arc and development and realization was chef's kiss. It was so good. And the side characters as well were really strong. And another thing this book does really, really well is its morality, in that Brandon is not, like, mustache twirly. Alberico's a little bit mustache twirly. I'm not gonna lie. A little bit. I understand what he, like, his goals are, but Brandon is, who's the other, like, tyrant, is a really well fleshed out character, and if anything, I think, like, obviously the people from Lower Corte in this story really hate him because, you know, he destroyed the memory of where they lived and killed a lot of people. But it's funny, Alyssum, I think, kind of has a blind spot to, like, he kind of feels compassion for others who have the similar motivations to Brandon, who just happen to be not Brandon. And it was really interesting, and Alyssum, who's arguably, like, the focal character. He's not the protagonist, because he's no POVs, but he's the focal character of this story. Like, if you remove Brandon, the story doesn't work. If you remove Devon, you could still make the story work. It would probably have a different result, but it works. But if you remove Alyssum, the story's just gone. Like, you'd have to completely rework anything. And he's also a really interesting character with nuanced morality, and I really appreciated that around this book. And he did my boy Erlene dirty. I'm Team Wizard here. Anyway. So yeah. No one who hasn't read the book knows what I'm talking about there. Whatever. Anyway, so I really appreciate this in terms of characterization. I'm not going to say it's, like, for characterization, one of the best books I've ever read, but very good for characterization. Like, very, very good. And I also thought, plotting-wise, this was really strong. I really went through it really fast. There's one part of the book around in the middle that felt somewhat disconnected, but it also was one of my favorite parts of the book because of just how well it's written. So, I can't be... Why is there still a bookmark in here? That's not a bookmark. That's a scorecard. Anyway, whatever. And so I actually thought, like, I didn't really have pacing issues with it. I really enjoyed it from cover to cover. It is relatively slow-paced, and it's largely about scheming and maneuvering. This is kind of... it says on the back... I think it's... One second. Anyway, it says there's, like, revolution and stuff on the back, so I feel like I can say that word and it's not a spoiler. But it's not a revolution of we're all going to band together and go murder people. It's more of a maneuvering resolution, and a lot of the maneuvering has kind of already been done before you start the book. Devon is kind of gets information on that a little bit later into it, and we kind of see the culmination of a decade of work from Alyssum and my boy Bayard. I don't know how to pronounce any of these. I don't do audiobooks, people, and I'm bad at pronouncing names. I'm sorry. I'm going to say names wrong. This is a thing that's going to happen. And everything's Italian. Anyway. But it's kind of, you're more seeing the culmination and putting a cap on 10 years of work than you are actually seeing, like, the entire plan from start to finish. But you kind of see how it's effective. And there's some POVs. Remember I said the other tyrant is a little bit Alberico is a little bit more mustache twirly. There are Alberico point of views where you kind of see whether what Alyssum doing is effective and, like, what actual effect it has. And I really enjoy those. I really enjoyed all the point of views, if I think about it. Pretty much. So, that's a win. Anyway, overall, obviously, I've been, like, 90% positive on this, so this probably isn't going to surprise everyone, but this is maybe the best standalone fantasy novel I've ever read, or I guess my favorite. I say maybe. This is my favorite standalone fantasy novel I've ever read. Beating out The Sword of Tigana, and it is getting a score of 9.4 out of 10. It's really good. I guess I could... I know this is... It seems like Tigana, it's like 5 stars or 2 stars. Not very many people give it 4 stars. I don't know... Curious where the 2 stars, like, what they didn't like about it. I guess it could be, like, the importance of, like, the memory thing. But I feel like that ended up being very, like, nuanced and not overly focused on. So I don't really know. I thought it was brilliant. I would totally recommend it if you want a beautifully written fantasy standalone with really nuanced themes, compelling and nuanced characters, really rich world building, just glorious writing. I will say, like, the country they're in, I want to go on, like, not when there's war, but I want to go on vacation there because, this is like, if you look at Abercrombie descriptions, Abercrombie's really good at descriptions, but he's not flowery because he does a really good job of describing, like, how the street smells like shit and how everything is ugly and how, like, smoke is coming up from the factory and how there's, like, a bunch of mud on the ground. Just, like, even though he describes very vividly, it's not, like, it's vivid how ugly it is. Guy Gavriel Kay was just like, you know what? It's going to be set in a postcard. Terrible things are going to happen, and it's going to be very brutal. And we're not going to, like, shine light on how awful, like, war and conquerors are, but it's happening all in places that could be on a picture of a scorecard, on a postcard. And deal with it. So I would like more Tigana fan art. If you saw the dramatic reading, one of them, I literally just had to Google, like, peninsula by the Mediterranean Sea. Because there's, like, no fan art. And I'm terrible at painting or drawing things. If anyone talented at that is watching this video, please read the book and then make art. I'll appreciate you. I guess. I will. Actually, I guess. I will appreciate you. If you do, send it to me. I want to see it. And I don't know. I'll spread it to all my friends. And it's not like I have connections. I can't make you famous, but I can try. And trying may be the first step to failing. But I'll try. Okay, we've gotten a little bit rambly now, even for me. But this was great. Again, another book I've read that wasn't particularly action-packed. Foundryside really stood out there, because... I'm holding this up. Because Foundryside was particularly action-packed. This had some action, like on the how much action it had scale. If 0 action is a 1 and Battleground by Jim Butcher is a 10, this is like a 3. On the how, like, prose scale, if, like, Tolkien is a 10 and Sanderson is like a 1, I'm not talking about how good the prose, I'm talking about how, like, flowery and distinct it is. You know, whether people are trying to write, like, straightforward or see-through. This is, like, if Sanderson is just see-through glass window pane prose, this is, like, beautiful stained glass prose that you would, like, see in a cathedral. This is 10. This actually, writing style-wise, it reminded me a lot of Tolkien. I think 300 pages into this, I was kind of like, take Tolkien writing and add the horniness of Dresden, and you have Tigana, and I don't fully retract that. So I think if you are a huge Tolkien writer guy, one sec, the Tolkien fans might get mad at me here. If you're a Tolkien fan, just... I like Lord of the Rings, but if you're, like, a Tolkien mega fan, just do this, okay? I like the writing here more than Tolkien. It's similar in style, but I like it more. Okay, none of them heard me and are coming to beat me up. We're fine. Anyway, but if you do like that style of writing, absolutely go for this. If you don't, you might not like it, but read it anyways, damn it. I mean, if you only like straightforward prose, then yeah, don't read it. It's pretty character-driven as well, but I still think the plot, like the sense of tension, it's very good at tension, I think, where, like, it feels like things can go wrong. There's also, I'm gonna say, a lot of the time, a lot of the, like, more classic fantasy writers, their plot twists I kind of see coming. But, so there were some reveals in this book that they had, like, the full, that was obvious in hindsight, but I never saw it coming. So Guy Gavriel Kay, really, really good at setup and payoff without realizing he was setting it up. Overall, I mean, this has been almost all positive, but whatever. I'm gonna end the review now. You should read the book. I'm going to read more Guy Gavriel Kay, maybe not soon. I added The Lions of Al Rassan to my TBR. We'll see how I like that eventually when I read it. I first need to get the book before I read it. Anyways, there were 2 things I wanted to add while watching back through this. Hopefully my chair doesn't squeak too much while I'm talking about this. And the first is his handling of the point of view, in that it's kind of a mix of third-person limited and omniscient, where he'll do the thing that you'll both, like, in a limited way see the person in the head, but there will also be, like, a narrator that says things like, Devin didn't know this at the time, and I just thought it was really well done. A lot of the time when you kind of jump mid-chapter from narrator to a point of view, to maybe even another point of view, it can be somewhat jarring. but somehow Guy Gavriel Kay made it not jarring, and I just wanted to add how well done that was. And something else I wanted to add, and this is somewhat similar to Malazan, and that is a lot of the characters tend to be very emotional in general. I think Alan from the Library of Alexandria, I'll link him in the description. I mean, if you watch my channel, you should watch Alan's channel. Alan is great. Alan, if you're watching this, shout out to you. You're fantastic and wonderful. Anyway, he mentioned in his review of The Crippled God, how we kind of started seeing the Malazan characters as the people you'd see from like a Greek tragedy, who tend to be like, you know, super emotional and forthright with their emotions. I don't know if what I just said is right, but he said something like that. Again, Alan, if you see this, please comment the correction of what you just said. But this book is really similar to that in that regard. Which I know because of the way I said this and how I didn't check first, that this sentence is only helpful if you happen to be Alan, or I guess if you also watch that Crippled God review. Or if I'm right that he was talking about Greek tragedies in New England. But anyways, the characters tend to be like very forthright with their emotions, but Guy Gavriel Kay writes the emotions so effectively that it really made, in general, like this was an extremely emotional book. The emotional scenes hit super hard, both the triumphant moments and the sad moments and the beautiful moments. It was great. Who in my audience has read Tigana? I'm curious. Let me know down below. If you read Tigana, I know a lot of people really hate Tigana. A lot of people love it, so I'm sure that I have both. But let me know what you thought of the book down below. I'm curious what everyone else thinks, what you agree with me, what you disagree with me, and do you agree with me that Guy Gavriel Kay needs to go to horny jail, but then we should give him a bunch of awards for his book while he's waiting in horny jail? Yes, this is how I'm ending the review.